Welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to go over the 5 best cameras for under $1,000. I think all these are really good cameras. The subject is mostly going to be on photography, but a lot of these cameras do video also, so we'll get into that. So let's get started. At number 5, we have the Lumix G85. It is a micro four thirds sensor. It does video very well, but it's very underrated on how it takes pictures. It's 16 megapixels. It's not a lot, but it's enough. It gets some beautiful pictures. It's very lightweight. It's good for if you're a wedding photographer and you're shooting receptions. It's good to go from a big, heavy, full-frame camera to one of these, because most of your reception shots, you're not selling any 16 by 20s or so you should be good. The G85 has been around, I think, since 2016. It's been a camera that has just, when it came out, it was really ahead of its time. It will do 4K video. It will do 1080 also. It does slow motion. I've got a 12 to 35 lens on here, which on a micro four thirds camera is the same as a 24 to 70, and it's 2.8 all the way through. It's a great little camera. You can get these for about $350 through MPB right now, and they're just great little cameras for doing everything. You need a video, it'll take care of you. You want to take some great shots, you got it covered there too. Good little camera, they seem to last. Now the next camera is kind of a highly debated camera, and I don't have one with me. I owned one for a month or two. Is the Canon RP. Now it's full frame and it's cheap, which should tell you a little bit right there. It's not a bad camera. I don't want to say the RP is just a terrible camera. It's not a terrible camera. Its dynamic range is not very good. It doesn't shoot a lot of frames per second, which in my line of work is not a big necessity. I do mostly weddings and models and senior portraits. But it's not a bad camera. If you're just beginning and you want to have a full frame, you can go with the newer mirrorless Canon RP, but I think I have a better option for you for your full frame if you're wanting full frame. It's a much better full frame and it's a whole lot cheaper. But I think you can get the Canon RP for around $700 through MPB or KEH right now. So if you want to try it out, try it out. I think they have like a 15-day return policy to go along with their 30-day warranty. But check out the RP. If you're doing YouTube with it, it's a great camera. If you're shooting pictures with it, not so much. I didn't like the way it felt in my hand. It just felt like I had a toy in my hand. I just didn't like it. It just didn't fit in with the cameras I've been using. The pictures off of it were okay, other than the dynamic range wasn't very great, but it was a decent little camera. But I've got a camera, the last one I'm going to show you, the one that finishes number 1, I think you'll like it much better. You'll get a lot more from it. So the number 3 camera that I would recommend is the Canon 70D. It was the first Canon to come out with dual pixel autofocus. Now it's an APS-C sensor, so that means you've got a 1x6, whatever your lens is. Like a while ago on that micro four thirds, it said 12 to 35. You have a 2x crop on it, so it was a 24 to 70. So if you put a 50 millimeter on your APS-C camera, you're going to have right around an 80 millimeter lens. So, and that's fine, especially if you're trying to shoot wildlife. You don't have to buy lenses that are so long. You've got the crop sensor to help you out. This camera, it focuses very well. It does some video. It's not great, but it'll get the job done. This is mostly for photographers. It's a great little camera. I've used Canon. I've had the 30D, the 50D, the 60D, the 70D, and then we moved into the full frame cameras. But and every one of them still work. I've got a 30D that's been working ever since we got it. Probably the first week or two it came out, and it still works. I still carry it around. It's only, I think, 8 megapixels, but you know, megapixels only mean so much. But you know, it's obviously not going to compare with a camera that's 15 years newer. But it's still a good camera. But like I said, on the Canon EOS 70D, you're going to get great focusing. You're going to get great quality. You get the APS-C crop, 1x6. So that might help you. The only downfall to the APS-C crops is if you want wide shots. So if you throw a 16 millimeter on here, now it's more like a 24 millimeter. So for distance, APS-C is a big help. It's kind of a hindrance if you want to get a wide angle. So think about that. The 70D you should be able to get for $250, $300 from KEH or MPB. Check them out. It's a great camera. It's got the LCD on top. They last forever. They're great cameras. Now, the next camera, I really kind of had a hard time picking the number 2 here. I've never owned this camera, but I've owned a lot of cameras like it. It's the Canon 90D. Like I said, I had the 30, the 50, the 60, and the 70, and then we jumped full frame. Canon 90D is 32.5 megapixels, I believe, and it does amazing video. It's got a lot of features that a lot of the other D cameras don't, the lower ones, but it takes fantastic pictures. It's also a crop sensor, but it's got a Lifetime shutter, I think the shutter maybe 150,000. Don't quote me on that. I should have checked that up. But it's a really well-made camera, and it's far advanced over some of the other 70D cameras. Now, it is one of the most expensive cameras that I'm going to talk about, under $1,000. The 90D is going to run you about $850. And for $850, you can get so much more. But it's still a great camera, so that's why I put it at number 2. You guys let me know what you think about these cameras that I'm talking about. Now, I'm going to tell you the number 1 camera that I would recommend for you to get. Professionals use it. Amateurs use it. It's a beast. I love it. I shot weddings with it for many, many years. It's still my second camera behind my R6. That is the Canon 6D. All the hype has always been about the Canon 5D, Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4, and those are great cameras. But the Canon 6D is a full frame. You can get nice low light shots with this. It's only going to give you 5 frames a second, somewhere in that area, so it's not super fast, but again, in my line of work, I don't need that. It is an incredible camera from the pictures that you get from this. The full frame, like earlier when I mentioned the Canon RP, it is a newer mirrorless and it is full frame. I would rather have this Canon R6 10 times over than have a Canon RP. The Canon RP is just not quite in the same class. It's kind of like Canon built a full frame and said, let's just sell this to people as cheap as we can so that people can say they have full frames. And that works. I mean, it's fine. It's a business move. And the RP does work. It's not terrible. I went over the highs and lows of it a while ago. You'll get decent images. But the Canon 6D, this camera has been a workhorse. And if you're a professional photographer, that's what you want. You want a workhorse if you're a professional photographer. You don't want to get to a wedding and start having camera issues. You can't have that. Take multiple cameras, obviously, with you to the wedding, but you want to be able to depend on your main camera. And for years, this was our main camera. I never switched to the 5D Mark III or the Mark IV because this camera just worked so great. The one advantage that the 5D Mark III and IV have is it has 2 memory card slots. The biggest downfall on the Canon 6D is that it only has 1 memory slot. So far, we haven't had any memory cards go bad on us, so knock on wood. Who knows what can happen tomorrow, right? But this camera, if you're just starting out or if you're a professional and you're looking for a backup camera, I believe the Canon EOS 6D is the most underrated camera maybe to be ever made, because you can get one of these right now for MPB KEH for right around $300. That is about 1/3 of the price of the Canon 90D that I mentioned that's APS-C. Now the video on this is not going to match the 90D, but if you're doing photography, that doesn't matter. You want a camera that's going to capture your image. You want to be able to shoot in low light. And you want to be able to depend on it. I think this is the most underrated camera probably ever made. And for $300, I think we paid, I don't remember, I know we got it when it was fairly new. I think it's probably $2,300, $1,900, somewhere in there for the body only. But the EOS Canon 6D is a camera that will do everything for you photography-wise. If you need low light at a wedding, you got it. If you need fairly fast shooting, you got it. You need dependability, you got it. It's a beast. It's a workhorse. I can't praise this Canon 6D enough. I've shot so many weddings with it over the year, and the pictures are just amazing. It's a 20 megapixel camera, and people go, oh, 20, that's not much anymore. And you could have got a 45 megapixel Canon R5. Well, that's almost $4,000. And my Canon R6 that I shoot with, it only has 20 megapixels. Once you get past about 12, 13 megapixels, you're really just creating huge files for yourself, because that Canon 30D I mentioned earlier, it was 8 megapixels, and we've got beautiful 16 by 20s of it hanging all everywhere. So megapixels, it's important. If you're shooting pictures and you're cropping in 400% and you're making large pictures, then you probably want to get more megapixels. But if you shoot it right, you don't have to do a lot of cropping. And you can, don't get me wrong, you can still crop these quite a bit and still get a great image. You can cut half the image out and you're still working with a 10 megapixel file. So it's not bad, it's good. But for the price, $300, some days I've thought about going to KEH and just buying them all, putting them up on the shelf, because I don't think you will ever see another camera with this quality at $300 price range. I have the battery grip on it. You can get generic brands for those for probably 60 bucks. Makes it a little heavier, but gives you a little better grip when you got the battery grip on there, plus it doubles your battery time. And these cameras, not having the electronic viewfinder, the two Canon batteries and this Canon 6D, I can shoot an entire wedding on those 2 batteries and leave and still have battery power left. My Canon R6, I'm going through batteries like water, because it's got the electronic viewfinder, everything's electric. This is a fantastic camera. I would highly recommend this to anybody that's wanting to get started in professional photography and don't have the money to spend on a new mirrorless. If you're looking for full frame, you can't beat $300, because the $300 quality of the 6D is going to beat the, what was it, $700 of the Canon RP. So that's my opinion. Hey, you guys let me know what you think. What kind of cameras you think would be in the top 5. I'm mostly a Canon guy. I do shoot some with Panasonic. I've never shot much with Nikon, and the times that I haven't really liked Nikon too much. I think, you know, I started in 1985 with Canon, and here it is almost 40 years later, and I'm still shooting Canon. Canon does a great job. I do like some of the Panasonic cameras. They have their issues, but Panasonic is really good in video. But again, I'm gonna say it one more time. The Canon 6D for $300, you need to get one of these. Even if you've got 3 or 4 cameras, go get you a Canon 6D before they sell them all. It's an amazing camera. There's nothing that I couldn't shoot with this camera. It's amazing. Anyway, guys, if we're helping you guys out, let us know. Give me your opinions on the cameras that I listed today, and tell me your opinions on your top 5 cameras that might be under $1,000, or just tell me what your top 5 cameras are. Don't have to be under $1,000. Just get a debate going. And everybody has a different opinion, and everybody's shooting a different type of photography. I'm shooting weddings, models, and seniors, and there's a lot of people that are out shooting wildlife. That's a whole different realm. There's people doing architecture. There's people using cameras to make YouTube videos. I mean, there's a different, one camera doesn't suit everybody. But with the cameras I was talking about were mostly for photography, even though I think all of them do offer some kind of video. I was mostly going off the quality of the images that you would get from photography. So hey, if we're helping you guys out, y'all have a good day, and hit that subscribe button. Thank you.